are listening to Peak One Sports.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Leadoff on the Peak One Sports Network. I'm Ashton, sitting here with Tony, getting you ready for your sports weekend, which includes maybe one of the most legendary coaching carousels, NFL and college football of all time, with Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll, Nick Saban, all either retiring or just moving on from their respective organizations.
Yeah. And I know the retiring is Nick Saban. Do we really think he's walking away from football just yet? Or is this just his way to get out and get a change? I mean, the way the landscape of college football looks, and he's been public about this, that he doesn't like the NIL, and it levels this playing field more like the NFL. Does this just push him to say, screw it, let me go to the NFL? I'm dealing with the same crap.
Yeah.
Besides salary caps, I mean, that's...
Yeah, I mean, but does that make it... I mean, you're still succeeding. I mean, you haven't won a championship since any of the NIL stuff started, but I mean, they're in the college football playoff every year.
But it's just so much of a headache for him where it was easy without that, because he had a lock on the recruits, and now he doesn't have a lock on recruits.
I mean, would it be better to walk away, I mean, relatively at the top of your game, which... to Alabama standards, maybe it's not at the top. I mean, because you haven't won a national championship in a few years, but I mean, you're still up there competing.
I could see in a year's time him wanting to get back. And could you ever see him in anything other than a head coaching role?
Maybe like an organizational role.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, he hasn't had a whole lot of success in the NFL.
Well,
and,
rightfully so. He had the Dolphins.
Yeah.
A terrible Dolphins team at that. I mean, I think he's proven himself so much now, and he's such a legend from college football and at Alabama. He would inherit a better NFL team if he went wherever he went in the NFL as a coach or upper management. I think he has earned the opportunity for a better team.
Looking at what I mean, even though not winning championships, what he's done, I mean, that'd be the equivalent of making the conference championship in the NFL. So would he go and be able to compete and make a conference? I mean, it just depends what team he goes for.
Obviously, the NFL, we know, I mean, just like in college, the roster means everything.
Yeah.
You know, the coaching can hurt your team, and it can't help it, but I think it hurts it more if you don't have the right coach. But having a pretty good coach doesn't automatically put you there. You have to have the roster around them. That's why you see these good coaches, the Pete Carrolls, the Bill Belichicks. Bill Belichick is an outstanding NFL coach and can go on and coach any other team in the NFL. He didn't have a roster in New England.
So is that maybe why he's probably not retiring like Saban and Carroll? I mean, Saban at the top of his game, Carroll doing a lot with very little in Seattle the last few years. Whereas it was probably similar to the situation in New England where ownership's like, hey, we're not bringing you back. Do we want to, I mean, obviously he's still with Seattle. He's working in football operations. He's just not the head coach. But maybe ownership comes to him like, hey, let's not. If you want to coach, that's fine. We can part ways. But this is what we're going to do. Do you agree?
And Pete Carroll doesn't look it. His metabolic age is much different than his actual age. Yeah, he's a much older. He's one of the oldest coaches in the NFL, and he sure doesn't look it.
Man, I'm blanking on his name, but one of the ex-Seahawks talking about Pete Carroll, saying, man, I'd stay till 10, 11 o'clock at night and leave, and Pete Carroll's still there. I'd walk in, come to work out at 4 or 5 a.m. Pete Carroll walks in right behind me, all cheery-eyed and bushy-tailed, whatever the phrase is, and I'm not there yet. Like, I'm just waking up. He's like, hey, how you doing? How you doing? Like, calm down. Like, he's leaving. Like,
a guy that's high on life.
He couldn't have been gone more than a few hours, and he's coming in before the sun comes up, and he's like, you ever get that where like, hey, I'm all here in body, but I'm not here in mind yet.
Yeah.
It's like, just calm down. But, Pete Carroll, I guess, is okay walking away from coaching. He's not at the end of his legs. You would think like he's had success. Same with Nick Saban. If the Patriots were in the playoffs this year, even if they lose, first round, whatever, they're, I wouldn't say an embarrassment, but they're not one of the bottom teams. Does Bill Belichick walk away at that point? Does he say, I can't end on this note, or maybe he's like, no, I want to keep coaching. I think he's up there in age as well.
I mean, we don't know, but I can't imagine someone like Bill Belichick caring what people think about being on top, or like, he just coaches and he just wants to coach.
Yeah.
He doesn't put on a persona that he's anything other than that. You see him, his dress on the sidelines, he wears cut off hoodies and just like, he doesn't care. He's all about the football. And for a guy like that, I don't think he can just walk away from it. A guy that's dedicated that much of his life, I don't think he can just walk away from it like this.
It definitely much different than situations like with Tom Landry, where it'd have been interesting because when Jerry Jones buys the team, he's like, just give me one more season, I'll retire. And he does, and he fires him. Can you imagine Tom Landry going to another team? Like, just to finish that out, he just ended it. But Bill Belichick, a couple of options, like what team does he coach? If he does indeed continue, which I haven't seen anything that says he wouldn't be the coach next year.
Washington could be a fit.
I think what he's looking for, I mean, at his age, I have no idea. I haven't heard him say this, but he's probably looking for a talented, underachieving team. Like, I don't know that he goes in the situation. Not that he was.
I mean, is there a team out there? I mean, the Chargers position.
Chargers,
I kind of thought
Atlanta.
Pete
I think
Carroll,
Atlanta's there with the quarterback.
I thought Pete Carroll could be a good fit. He's a South Cali guy. Started his coaching career at USC. I think he's a good fit for the Chargers job. But again, if he's just going to stay in management with the Seahawks and not get into coaching next year, I mean, I think Bill Belichick could be a good candidate for that Chargers team as well.
I don't know what his goals are. I mean, he's like 73.
I mean, the Tennessee job's still open, right? That's...
Me being in my mid-30s, I'm thinking, okay, he's probably wanting to be done soon. Whereas he probably isn't going to go to a team to rebuild them. Like, maybe pick somebody who's kind of already there. That's why I think Atlanta, the Chargers make sense. Washington, maybe with the right quarterback. I think they're still a few years away, but I mean, he might be like, I'm good for 3 or 5 more years. Let's just take another shot at it. What about these two options? It all depends on what happens in the playoffs. But you look at Philadelphia, a team that the fans are ready to get rid of Nick Sirianni. And not that it would be right to get rid of him, but if they lose to the Buccaneers this weekend on Sunday, how much, I don't know that the organization says anything. It's like, hey, he started off 10-1. Stuff went south very quickly, but I mean, he just had you in the Super Bowl last year. From an organizational standpoint, I don't know that after 1 year. I get it, it's Philadelphia, but how much of, I know we've talked about it on the show before, how much of the fan perception leaks in there? We're like, man, we got to let you go because our fan base isn't.
If any organization or any town that was an influence, it would be Philadelphia.
Yeah.
If I thought there was a chance that any town, we think about, we're here in Dallas, and it doesn't matter what you hear from the town. Jerry Jones does what the fuck he wants to do.
Yeah.
He doesn't care what you think, what makes sense. He really does. He's going to do what makes sense to him.
Yeah.
Which, in his old age, not a lot of things making sense for him. He makes a lot of bad moves.
He ignores so much. He's one of those. He listens to sports stations. One of the local sports stations here, he does 100% listen to. I've heard him call in, not randomly, unscheduled, because he heard them say something and he wanted to clarify. He does interviews twice a week. He doesn't ignore the fans. He talks to them, or he does interviews. But he still does what he wants. He answers questions, tells them, "Hey, this is our mode of thinking, whether it's BS or not." But yeah, for sure, he does what he wants to do.
But back to Philadelphia, if there's a fan base that has some sway on that, I would say it would be Philadelphia of any NFL team.
Look at Peterson. I mean, he was, how many ever years he was there? He had one losing season. He was out before that season. Super Bowl. He won a Super Bowl. 2 years later, it's that weird NFC East. Everybody's under 500, and he got fired before the season was over. Won a Super Bowl, had winning seasons.
Honestly, this is a complete personal opinion thing. I like Nick Sirianni. I mean, being our biggest rival, you have to hate him. I think he's a great coach. He was great as an offensive coordinator.
I think he's a great villain.
But he was great the wrong way in Indianapolis.
He tries to.
He is the guy. He is a great coach.
He's for sure. You love him if he's on your side. You hate him. He's got one of those punchable faces and attitudes.
He's a gutsy coach. I mean, I think he's the coach that Philadelphia needs and wants. He has the guts to do it. Now, if outside voices get to have an opinion,
they were talking about firing him after, which game was it? I can't remember which game. It was pretty early on where you're like, calm down. And now, I think it was before Arizona. And then they lose to the Cardinals, and you're like, okay.
I mean, they've won one game in 6 weeks. Is that
since they played they lost to the Cowboys. They beat the Giants, and
but that was a close game.
The score showed it, but the Giants came back in the end. But it was not a great game by Philadelphia at all. So yeah, they're 1-6, and they're 1-5, 1-6, right? Because they've lost. Anyways, they've won one game in the last 5 or 6 weeks, where that one win was the Giants, who they also lost to, got blown out. Maybe they're hurt. We talked about, with the what is it called, the tush push, that lots of people say no, it's not a big deal. And I mean, Kelsey said, dude, it's rough on you. I mean, Kelsey's talking. I mean, I don't know that specifically, but he's talking about retiring here pretty soon, and he's not that old. Jalen Hurts, you just seen he seems like he's been hurt.
Yeah, and that could be the downfall of the Eagles team this year. I mean, compared to last year and compared to the first 11 games or whatever it was of the season, the Eagles are having a good season. This isn't a trash season for them. Now, the Cowboys have had an exceptional season, undefeated at home, where they're 16, 17 game home win streak or something. It's an outstanding stat for the Cowboys. It makes the Eagles look worse, and maybe that could be the pressure coming is, hey, we can't let Dallas be better than us. But again, look at the stats. There's never been a repeat NFC East champion in how many years?
Since the Eagles won a few straight, 2004.
Yeah, so 20 years you haven't had.
So yeah, if
look at that, you can't look at this as a failure for the Eagles. This is the NFC East is always the most competitive division. I mean, at any point, any team can win, just like we saw the Giants beating the Eagles last week. Any team can win any week.
So take it from the Cowboys standpoint is if you start the year, tell me Cowboys are going 12-5, they're going to win the NFC East, be the number 2 seed. You'll take that all day long. Cowboys aren't going to be but we won a couple, without looking at the breakdown. But you get blown out by the 49ers, you lose to the Cardinals, you lose back-to-back Miami and Buffalo games, where you're kind of, Cowboys fans can be, it's our year, there are fans like that, but most Cowboys fans, I think, are kind of on edge right now. Maybe it's PTSD because it's the Packers, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows for the Cowboys either. I mean, they're a tough crowd to sell as well. Nothing compared to Philadelphia. But if you look back, before the year started, I think the Eagles were favored to be the number 1 seed. But you tell them, would they finish 11-6? 11-6, you lose the NFC East to the Cowboys. But you make
now
the
they're
playoffs.
like the 7 seed, or is that what they are?
The 5 seed.
5 seed.
I don't think you're at the beginning of the year. You say, "Hey, this is how it turns out." I think they're like fire. They'd be like fire Sirianni in that point. But I have seen some glass half full Eagles fans where it's like, okay, worst case scenario, we're playing the Bucks. If things that was before they put on that show in New York. For whatever reason, Jalen Hurts is hurt. A lot of injuries on that team, just little things here and there. We'll see though. I mean, the Bucks, although they just beat the Panthers, 9-0. Not a strong showing, but Baker Mayfield this year is, who knows? And at home, a nice climate game. I mean, I think that evens out the field a little bit better. Obviously, you don't have to deal with the Philly fans. So I think Philadelphia wins that game, but I mean, I could see, back to the original point, I don't know that Belichick would want to go there, but I think it's a good situation where if they lose, they move on from Sirianni. Obviously, out of all the teams that don't have a coach, they would be the most talented.
I would be blown away if they let him go now, even after a loss.
Okay.
I think I would hate to go into a season as a franchise not knowing in your guy, and basically it's a week-to-week situation.
Yeah.
But I would sure hate to just get rid of him now. I mean, some teams just have off seasons.
And it might.
I mean, there's years that New England wasn't the best. Like, they didn't win every single year. Like, there were years they were off.
I don't know that as an organization you should say, or you should think, if you're 100% safe no matter what happens this weekend, or you're gone if you lose this weekend. It matters if they go out and lose by 20 points. I mean, maybe you have to do something. At some point it's not he's the wrong guy. It's that maybe he lost the locker room or whatever. There's an issue if you're losing by that many points. Like any given Sunday, sure, but whatever happened in New York, I don't know.
I would
maybe
want
they go
to
in
see
thinking
this stat.
we're probably losing anyways.
Early in the season, we continued to talk about them going for it on 4th and 1 so often, 4th and 2 with the tush push you brought up earlier. I want to see the stat on does all the times that they've gone for 4th and on 4th, and most of the time they get it, is that really relating to and turning into wins? Like, does that help you? Does that conversion rate on 4th down stat actually matter? We've looked at a lot of stats like with the most penalized teams. The Cowboys is the most penalized team of the top teams.
Yeah. It's turned into touchdowns, at least rushing touchdowns for, well, maybe they're not necessarily 4th down. I'd have to go back and look, but Jalen Hurts, has an outstanding amount of rushing touchdowns this year. And a lot of them are, 1-yard touchdown.
But you also see that he has been banged up this year. He
hasn't
hasn't
at the
been
same point.
the
Most
same.
teams, you say, that turned into a touchdown, but what do the Cowboys do? What do any other team do? What does any other team do? That you're probably scoring a touchdown there anyways, whether you're handing it off, play action, pass, whatever.
Unless you give it to your fullback and the ball gets knocked out.
Yeah. Occasionally, Dak's going to, jump over the line, which seems like a more dangerous play, but, you're getting pushed. You're getting it may be not like a 10 and dangerous, maybe like a 4 or 5, but you're getting banged up, and you do that over and over and over again. Honestly, I don't know, but I think that's something of what we're seeing with Jalen Hurts is it's just he's banged up, and he's not going to be. I mean, even if they make a deep playoff run, I don't think it's because he's scoring a bunch of touchdowns, throwing for a bunch of yards, because he's just banged up. I think that's what it is. He's just exhausted. I feel like I've noticed a lot. I have no stats to back this up. I didn't go and look. I feel like they haven't done the tush push a lot, but that could be there's not a lot of opportunities to do it. I don't know that they've done it, 5 or 6 times a game. Maybe it's just a couple of times.
Yeah.
It seems like they do it a lot, but I know watching the Arizona game, I watched the entire second half of that game. I don't think they did it once in the second half. And again, is it opportunity? Is it, hey, Jalen's banged up and we got to protect him now? I'm not sure, but here's another wild card. No pun intended for wild card weekend here. If most of where the bar's set for the Cowboys at the beginning of the year is obviously Super Bowl. Obviously, there's that arbitrary NFC Championship game just because you haven't been to a conference championship since '96. So this year seems like one of the best opportunities because, you have home field advantage up until the NFC Championship game. The path looks pretty easy. Not easy, but looks very winnable. You beat the Packers on Sunday. You're playing probably the Lions, maybe the Eagles, could be the Rams. All of those teams, you beat one of them. And the other ones, or you beat two of them, or actually you beat all three of those teams. You beat the Lions, you beat the Eagles, and you beat the Rams all at home. So it's safe to say it'd be a huge disappointment if they don't make the NFC Championship game. It's even more so this year because of how you've set yourself up to make it there. Forget the 49ers. You don't have to worry about them till the NFC Championship. So if the Cowboys don't make it, or, even worse, lose to the Packers, does Mike McCarthy get fired? And if he does, could you see Bill Belichick with the Cowboys?
Jerry likes him some Bill Belichick.
Yeah. I don't think McCarthy gets fired, but if he does, Vegas would put it out there. But I bet you Bill Belichick is most likely to go to the Cowboys because they're in a window with their roster.
Yeah, for sure.
They are in a, say, 3 to 5 year window, and Bill
Belichick
you can.
You said it earlier, and you can laugh at the Cowboys fans for saying, "Oh, this is our year. This is our." On paper, this is the best roster in football. Yeah. No doubt about it. Like, you can't. Maybe close contender with San Francisco.
This offense, especially at home, is the best. It's top 5 even on the road. They can compete on the road. It's just something weird about that. Defense has been iffy lately. Most of the game up until maybe the end of the game.
The defense has been that bend but don't
Lions,
break. Yeah. And it's bend, and then we get a turnover. Bend, we get a turnover, right? That's kind of how you play. So back to your question.
If he loses to Green Bay, he gets fired, right?
I think it hasn't been public, but I would have to think McCarthy's job is on the line because this is too talented of a team. You've lost some silly games. It's too talented of a team not to be more competitive, not to be more dominant. This team should be dominant like San Francisco is.
And
they should be that team that everybody's afraid of. There is no team that steps on that field that's afraid of the Cowboys because they know the Cowboys are going to make a dumb decision, and Mike McCarthy has all season with play calls, with clock management, with he has made some dumb decisions. Say what you want about the
Detroit game where, hey, it should have been tripping. Hey,
there was a lot of bad calls in that game.
Really, you can't just say, well, Detroit should give Detroit the win. Honestly,
McCarthy got outcoached in that game. McCarthy was outcoached by Dan Campbell.
They should have never given the ball back to the Lions. They should have run down the clock. I know you weren't really running the ball. And as far as the controversy goes, number 70 was announced. He did not report. Yeah. He was announced. So if you say Lions win, if you say Lions win, it's just as much screwing the Cowboys. Because 68 was wide open because
nobody planned to cover him.
Nobody was going to cover him.
Yeah, he wasn't reported as the receiver. Yeah,
the Lions got screwed because of what happened, but if you give it to the Lions, the Cowboys got screwed just as much. Anyways, not that I agree that McCarthy should give it. We're in a day and age where it's what have you done for me lately? We're not giving out. Coaches don't coach for 20 years. They used to, outside of Belichick, who's won multiple Super Bowls. Outside of the Steelers head coach who's won multiple Super Bowls. It's hard to. I know Jerry tried to make Jason Garrett his Tom Landry. That's what he wanted, and I don't know that it's necessarily the right decision. There's much more that goes into it, but if they lose to the Packers, I think McCarthy has to be fired. That's just how things work now. If he makes it to the second round, then loses, maybe it depends how they lose. If they lose again, botching the final drive, Dak doesn't get the ball snapped, whatever. It matters how they lose the game, but I think he's gone if he doesn't make the NFC Championship. Just because this is the first time they've been in the number 2 seed since early 2000, since before, 2016. I think they were the number 2 seed, maybe number 1 seed, but they got the bye week. But this Pats NFC Championship is.
So here's another wild card for that is, do you want, if assuming McCarthy would be out, do you want Bill Belichick or do you want Dan Quinn?
I mean, I've said it on this show, multiple shows, that's why Dan Quinn stays with the Cowboys. He can say whatever he wants, but I think it's always been win-win for him. You either make deep playoff runs, have success, maybe win a Super Bowl, and then you are the number 1 contender, which he probably still is the number 1 contender for head coach. You can go pick whatever team you want to go to. Or you don't have success, the team gets fired. I mean, Mike McCarthy gets fired, and you could be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
I mean, essentially, he is the assistant coach of the team. When Mike McCarthy was out with his surgery, he ran practices. He ran when
he's out with COVID, they played the Saints. He was on the sideline.
But then when recently Mike McCarthy had surgery, an emergency surgery, he ran practices. He handled it. He stepped into that role. I can't imagine. And he's been asked multiple times, why aren't you taking jobs? He says, I want to see this defense through.
Yeah.
Why not stay? And honestly, the way defenses go, I prefer a defensive-minded head coach for the fact that there's so much more that goes into offensive coordinating and play calling versus defensive coordinating and play calling on defense during a game, that I need my head coach to be able to manage the game, manage the clock, manage our timeouts, manage the situations. I would prefer a offensive coordinator that's just focused on play calling. Now, the young guys have been successful. They Mike McDaniels in San Francisco. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Yeah.
But
San Francisco, LA.
LA,
all
all these guys, they've been successful.
Rams.
I feel like a defensive-minded coach it just makes it so much easier.
And I know people might comment, Bill Belichick is temporary. Does Dan Quinn stay? If Bill Belichick's a head coach being a defensive mind, there's no way Dan Quinn stays. I don't think he stays anyways. Saying with that opportunity, if Mike McCarthy is fired and he's not going to be the head coach, I think he's gone anyways.
Here's a really wild scenario. Assume the Cowboys pull this off and they make it to the Super Bowl and possibly even win the Super Bowl this year. Does Mike McCarthy retire and go out on top like that and end his career?
He's so young. He's not young, but
could Jerry Jones coerce him to say, hey, because you're right. I mean, do you keep, even if you win the Super Bowl, you get another, like Dan Quinn gets that under his belt. Does he say, hey, I'm going to go take other opportunities now?
I don't think so, because of, Jerry Jones has come out and, multiple interviews and said he likes the storylines. Jason Garrett being his Tom Landry. I think I don't see a reason why he'd want him to leave. Like you still have that window. You could go win another one. You're not losing any big players right now. I mean, Dak, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, everybody. I mean, for the most part, every key player they plan to have under contract next year. I can see going out that. I mean, but we're talking about Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick and Nick Saban, and Mike McCarthy, is 10, 15 years younger than them. Maybe not 15, but about 10 years younger than them. He's got a lot of time, and I think Jerry Jones is bold enough where he wants Mike McCarthy to be known as the Dallas Cowboys. And I think that's probably what he'll be remembered for more than the Packers if he wins a Super Bowl.
If he can win a Super Bowl, absolutely.
He's probably not going to put in the same amount of years. I mean, he'd have to coach for another, while, but I would think Jerry Jones will want Mike McCarthy to retire as the Cowboys head coach, one way or the other. I mean, obviously, if you ask him, he's like, if he's retiring, that means we've had lots of success, more than likely, because he continues to be the head coach.
So what about then if you lose Dan Quinn? And I'm sticking on Cowboys. I just want to throw out some of these scenarios with all these coaching moves. If you lose Dan Quinn, do you look for a defensive coordinator to come in, or do you promote Al Harris, the defensive backs coach, who we've seen on the sidelines? He's been instrumental for this secondary in teaching these guys how to read receivers, how to almost run the routes for receivers. I mean, he's so knowledgeable with that.
Well,
is it his time to get that opportunity?
I mean, obviously, you're saying, do they offer it to him? Because a couple scenarios pending. Is Mike McCarthy still the head coach? Because if he's not, I would say no. They're probably bringing their own guys.
I'm saying is,
and
you lose Dan Quinn,
take him with him.
Because Dan Quinn's, they've been request he's gone to Carolina to interview.
Yeah,
I can't imagine he wouldn't go to Seattle.
Quinn take Al Harris with him.
I don't know.
But I guess it depends. Does he offer him a defensive coordinator position? If he doesn't, does the Cowboys offering him a defensive coordinator position make him say, no, I'm going to stay because it's a better, defensive coordinator with the Cowboys is, higher status than probably anywhere that Dan Quinn could be coaching. Maybe the Patriots. I don't think the Patriots are up there with the Cowboys.
Of course, the Patriots have a coach now, and they're building their staff.
Yeah.
But
of course, staffs
Seattle
aren't going to be built till the offseason until you see whoever wins the Super Bowl. Usually when you win the Super Bowl, just like throw out the Eagles.
I don't see Dan Quinn leaving
coordinators
Dallas.
Are going to go.
He's not leaving Dallas unless he's going to a head coaching job.
No, for sure. He'll have plenty of offers. He might be, maybe outside of Bill Belichick, the most sought after coach. And you see it anyways. Whoever wins the Super Bowl is probably losing your offense coordinator and defensive coordinator to head coaching positions. You saw it happen with the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
And, honestly, it's not a big surprise that the Eagles finished. They lost a lot of coaching talent, a lot of player talent. Just how back to the Eagles. It's not a huge surprise to see where the Eagles are at. The surprise is they started 10-1 and then they just downslided. Again, if you go back to the beginning of the season and say Cowboys edge out the Eagles, win the NFC East, you're like, oh, that's pretty surprising. But
if the Eagles were 500 on this backstretch, they would have won the division. And they'd be the number 2 seed.
But let's say
it came down to essentially one game.
That
Arizona
game is really what I know that if they'd beat the Giants, the Cowboys would have lost to Washington. But the Arizona game, they don't lose to Arizona.
It really took one game for the Eagles, and they're the NFC East champs and the number 2 seed. That's how tight this has been, and that's why it would be surprising for me for Sirianni to be gone.
I'll end on talking about the Eagles on this. That it's how they've lost it. Again, I don't think Nick Sirianni's losing his job. I mean, being Eagles fans come with pitchforks on him. If, they start 7-3, 8-3, and then they end up here. If they don't lose to Arizona, how they did. If they don't lose to New York, how they did. If they don't lose to San Francisco, how they did. I think it's all front logged and then what they've done the last 6 weeks, 6 or 7 weeks. And then obviously the Cowboys jumping. If the Eagles win the NFC East, after all this, limp into the playoffs, I think it's different. Because I think it'd be the same for the Cowboys. If they did that, it's like anybody but Philly. If the Cowboys lose the NFC East, like Philadelphia did, and then Philadelphia goes and wins, I think it's a lot of the same. That's just kind of adding, an extra punch to it.
A
punch in the face. Go ahead and like and subscribe. I didn't mention it earlier. Hit the like button if you like us. If you don't, hit it twice. Go ahead and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Follow if you're listening on a podcast platform, however you're listening. This episode is brought to you by Betalytics. Don't bet with your gut, guys. Use Betalytics algorithms. Let them make the picks for you. And right now, use promo code PEAK1 for 25% off when you sign up today. We've already mentioned some of the NFL playoff matchups, talked about some of the scenarios. Playoffs really start today with a couple of matchups with the Browns and Texans. First ever playoff matchup between these two franchises. Obviously, Texans, one of the newer franchises. And I don't care what you say. The Browns are a newer franchise as well. You can't tell me Baltimore is the the inaugural franchise, whatever you call it, the new franchise in that scenario, I was there. I saw the Browns move to Baltimore. So I do it for the Browns. Like, the success they haven't been able to have is because they were a brand new franchise.
Yeah.
It's not like they fell off a cliff. But anyways, you have the Browns, Texans, Flacco, looking to, Damar Hamlin's the only reason he's not winning comeback player of the year, which what he's been able to do with Cleveland, and going up against a tough Houston team.
Yeah.
With C.J. Stroud just, balling out. He's probably the next superstar in this league.
Yeah, and these teams just played a couple weeks ago.
Without C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, I think Houston probably has an edge here. I think this is a very well-coached, very talented Houston team. They're young, but I think they're talented. I think more talented than Cleveland. They're going to need more than just a quarterback.
Yeah.
Especially against D'Amico Ryan's defense. No matter this guy, he's this kind of contradicts what I said earlier. This guy's pretty good. I mean, he can take little and turn it into a lot.
Yeah.
Not that this Texans team is not talented. There's just not a lot of big names that you recognize, not household names yet. But I think he changes that. I think the Texans, I think they handle Houston. It could be an early, showdown, but I think at the end the Texans pull away.
Houston also with Carolina's pick coming up. What is that? Number 2 pick?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's say Chicago has the number 1 pick. So Houston just building, potential dynasty there. Obviously, they have names that are going to be big here in a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Big rookies on that defensive line, and if C.J. Stroud can, be any semblance of what he has been, he's going to. And C.J. Stroud's probably winning the Rookie of the Year. I mean, most awards have become quarterback awards, even though the Rams receiver. You say the name off the top of your head?
Nuka and what is it? Oh, Puka Nakua. Puka Nakua.
Breaking the record for rookie receiving yards for the Rams, who are also in the playoffs. They don't play till tomorrow. And I guess it's a late night game. I don't know why it wouldn't be. Dolphins, Chiefs, Kansas City hosting their 14th straight home playoff game, extending their own record.
It's just sad that we can't watch it.
Yeah. That was the storyline was going to be this year that Patrick Mahomes was probably going to play his first road playoff game, which down the road, what are they, the number 2 seed? They would have to play,
number 3 seed.
Number 3 seed. Okay, so that might be next week. So in Patrick Mahomes' career, he's never played a road playoff game outside of neutral site Super Bowls. Always been the home team,
and would probably would be in Buffalo.
Yeah,
that happens.
They always reseed each week. So
Buffalo being the 2 seed. I mean, you got Baltimore. Yeah, I mean Baltimore's going to get the lower seed, so there's going to be a lower seed than 3. So if they go on the road, it would be at Buffalo.
Assuming Buffalo. Buffalo loses.
Well, if Buffalo loses, then they get a home game.
If Buffalo loses, and as long as they're not the lower seed, the lowest seed, which they can't be, the
only way they can be the lowest seed is if Buffalo wins or
yes.
a lower seed.
Yeah,
so the only matchup they can have is if they win and Buffalo wins, they would play.
So if Buffalo loses, Kansas City has another home game, and if Baltimore can get knocked off, maybe in Kansas City.
But that's not this week. That would be they get a bye. So
yeah, they would have to get knocked off next week. Cold game, wind chill -22 degrees.
The coldest NFL game on record is that. I saw this. It'll
break the Ice Bowl, 1967 Cowboys Packers,
which would be this builds up to a great matchup, what you want to see, but we can't watch it because it's going to be not going to be nationally televised. You can only watch it on Peacock.
I can watch it. I have
Well, you can watch it, but not everyone.
You want to log in?
So what does this do to ratings for playoffs? I mean, playoff games are always nationally televised. You can watch every playoff game. What does this change?
The numbers. I don't think the numbers. I mean, obviously, less people will watch, but I don't know that the numbers really change all that much because when they give you the ratings, that's not included streaming. So if you watch like on YouTube TV, my numbers aren't counted with the total numbers. They keep them separate for some reason. Maybe that's cable and satellite saying, hey, don't, for whatever reason. I don't know. So they'll come out and say, how many ever million people watch this game. But in reality, it's probably, half. I think that's where we're all right. We're kind of at the equilibrium between cord cutters and cable satellite. I think we're roughly half right now. So when you say when a game's on normal television, I think it's safe to bet not quite double it, but I think I've heard some guys say like good rule of thumb, like not quite double it, but add 60 to 70% to get a more accurate rating because they don't combine the numbers of streaming. Now this is just streaming. I don't know if it'll be a big storyline because of that, but I think if you talk about how many eyeballs watch it, it'll be significantly less.
Absolutely.
And
what does this do now too? Because if you have it nationally televised on CBS, which is probably where it would have been, being the AFC, if this is a CBS game, why, or I guess NBC, I mean, it's on Peacock, it could be an NBC night game. What you would get sharing, they would have profit sharing from YouTube TV, from DirecTV, from all these different Hulu, whatever you're watching live stuff from, right? In this situation, you're only going to be collecting from whoever subscribed from Peacock directly.
And I don't know, maybe long term you might get more subscribers, but it's not hard just to do a free trial to watch this game. So
do you want to do that? I'm not going to.
No. Not that you're going to do that, but I'm saying if you think, people are going to subscribe to watch this, not really, because you can do a free trial. If that's all.
We've already seen the ratings with them going Thursday Night Football to Prime. Those ratings have dropped.
So it's a Thursday Night Football controversy where we have to make this legitimate. We're going to put our big games, big matchups on this. They haven't always worked out. Definitely not this year or early years in Thursday Night Football. That's what they're doing. They don't want to put the lesser game on Peacock because they're a business. They're trying to make it work.
Is this I think this is a test run to the Super Bowl. In the future will probably be pay-per-view.
Everything else in history has been. Boxing used to be the number one sport in America. In the 40s, 50s, whatever decades.
Until it went pay-per-view.
And you could watch it for free. You could go places, movie theaters, pay whatever to get in. Not what you pay now for pay-per-view. I don't know that UFC technically, I know they started out the Ultimate Fighting Championship, but they've kind of always been pay-per-view. But yeah, the big boxing matches would be just like the Super Bowl would be on ABC, NBC, whatever. I agree. I think that's what we're going to one way. And maybe not straight up pay-per-view as you think of it, but that's basically what this game is, pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Because you have to pay. There's ways around it. Sharing passwords.
Well, it's the same thing with
free trials.
Same thing with pay-per-view. You could share. I watch a lot of the pay-per-view matches
or you have a party and, 20 people come over and you have enough of those, that hurts ratings as well.
Yeah.
You kind of already have that with Super Bowls anyways.
You only do this because you're looking for additional subscribers. Maybe this is a test run to see how many people will actually go subscribe and stick with Peacock. How many people will actually go try to watch this? Is this a thing that people would do? If the Cowboys were playing on something like this and I didn't have it, I would be pretty upset.
So the thing with, Super Bowl being...
look at this. Do you have Apple TV?
Not currently.
If Cowboys game was going to be only there, would you go sign up?
Yeah, I'd re-up
without a free trial. You have to pay for it.
Subscription.
If it's on any other thing you don't have.
There's only 2 shows that I watch on Apple TV, and they're not current right now. They're coming out, so I turn it off, and I'll turn it back on when those shows come on.
Is that something that we're willing to do? If the only way you can watch a whole Cowboys season Is you got to go pay $40 a month.
I got rid of Dish Network when I couldn't watch a Cowboys game because they had an issue with CBS years ago. No shot on Dish Network, but they resolved it the next week, and it was all fine. I don't know if it's me being petty. No, I said screw this. Okay. I got rid, and I got PlayStation View, which if it ended, and I went to YouTube TV. Dish Network not having the Cowboys game caused me to cut the cord, which I was thinking about anyways.
Look at this scenario then with that. And I don't want to get too far off, but man, while we're talking, what if the NFL schedule only goes streaming? That's all they do. But every Cowboys game, every week, I'm just using this example because these are the games you would care on a different one. So you have to have a subscription to every single streaming platform there is just to be able to watch an entire Cowboys season. What problems does that cause? Because originally everyone cut the cord because you could save money. Now I'm probably paying 3 times what I was paying for satellite.
And some genius is going to combine them all into one package and recreate cable again.
Yeah.
See, I in that scenario, I don't know. But going back to the Super Bowl, like it may be the same. I'm going back to Super Bowl to answer the question. It may be, I don't know that you make enough money. Ratings are going to drop. It's like you made Super Bowl pay-per-view. They'd make more money than they ever have. Ratings might
more so than the money they make on Super Bowl ads, because I don't think you sell the Super Bowl ads at the rates you do. But if you can't guarantee the eyeballs.
But okay, let's see how many people watch the Super Bowl. Let's say 150 million. Let's say it cuts in half. I don't think it's that drastic. But let's say it cuts in half, 75 million. 75 million people pay $15. It would probably, I would think it'd be more than that. If it's on a streaming service, I'd say, but if it's pay-per-view straight up, $10, $15. It might start off like $5 just to get you to do it. You're like, I can pay $5. And then you're like, well, I can pay $5. It's just $5 more. And then they keep going, well, I've already paid this. I'll just pay, 75 million times, whatever it would cost. Instead of having 150 free viewers, you're having that pay, and you're still going to sell a crap ton, because I think it's a sign of status for companies and ad agencies to have Super Bowl ads. Because they want to have the funny one. There's awards given out for the funniest Super Bowl ad.
But think about this now.
I still think people
literally pay extra to not have any ads, to have 0 ads. You pay more for Hulu. You pay more at Disney. You pay.
That's where you get Super Bowl pay-per-view plus. You're going to pay an extra $5.
I don't think you can sell people. I don't think the value is there in Super Bowl ads. If you're charging, if it costs additional
value straight up selling, there's no way Doritos makes how much. What was it, like $6 million for a 30-second ad? Now you're obviously not buying one ad; you're buying packages, and you're probably spending $20 million on a package. Something I have no idea.
But that's throughout a season, throughout a year or a quarter or whatever.
But how much of that
terms are?
How much of that goes towards how much you're paying for the Super Bowl? I know you don't just straight up pay for the Super Bowl. You get deals because you're just like buying season tickets or something and buying playoff tickets. There's no way Doritos makes dollar for dollar their money back for their Super Bowl ads. There's no way. Now,
well, I mean, they're $1 billion company, right? So, I mean,
well, no. Well, let me rephrase that. Straight up, there's no way people see a Doritos ad. I'm going to go buy Doritos because I saw the Super Bowl. Now, if they make the funniest Super Bowl ad, was it the Time Machine? Years ago, we're still talking about that. How many people go look at that on YouTube the next day because it's a Super Bowl commercial?
I think you also have to look at these corporate companies. I mean, with Budweiser and these, they have to shelter money. They have to spend. So it's not dollar for dollar of, this is a valuable item for us. We've got to spend a certain amount of money just to tax sheltering purposes just because we make so much, we have to spend it. So that's but my point is I just don't think you sell for 30 seconds is worth $6 million. I don't think they can. I don't think they would sell it because now Doritos, Budweiser, they have a legitimate fight of, well, look how much you're making off of the streaming part of this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have as many eyeballs. I'm not going to pay that. Whether it's ever worth it or not, they're going to say, well, I'll pay half that because they're going to have half the viewership.
I mean, if
you know what I mean? Like, so I think this is a ticking time bomb, just like how cable was, how all these other things, like, I think it's a ticking time bomb. And for the greedy.
So the next thing, it's going to be just the next thing.
This is something that we wished for. Oh, we want everything streaming. Cut the cable, do this. Well, this is how it backfired on us now is now you're going to have to own all of these items so that you can watch what you want to watch. I mean, already now I have way too many subscriptions. Like I said, 3 times what I was paying for cable, just so that I can watch this show on here and this show here, and my kids can watch this here, and I can have, you know what I mean? Like
with YouTube TV, and we have most of them. We've had all of them at some point. I think we, whatever's active, we have most of them. Add it all together, it's significantly less than we paid for Dish Network at the time. But it's the same thing with satellite, though. I mean,
essentially, YouTube TV is the same cost as what satellite was, about $80 a month. I was paying $80 a month.
Well,
before.
when you start off, if you get like the base package, you can get it for like $30 a month. But I think eventually, when you sign contracts, you're paying $150, $160 at some point. If you switch,
I never paid that for satellite.
I never had to. We'd always switch before that happened. Like many times, we went from DirecTV.
I mean, I'm spending nearly $300 a month. I mean, I have almost all of them. I mean, not the little like Peacock and not the Magnolia Network or like I don't have or Paramount. I don't have those little individual ones, but most of the major ones I have because there's things we want to watch. I mean, the Netflix is $25 a month. The
Netflix, we have the Hulu, ESPN. I mean, we spend like $120.
YouTube TV's nearly $100 a month after taxes and all the things and the add-ons and Apple TV. That was costing us about close to $40 a month.
Yeah.
What else? You got Hulu, ESPN, Disney.
It depends how you play. If you just stick with Dish Network, you're gonna pay $150 a month.
I think the point is going up. This is costing us so much, and we're getting less content actually of the relevant content. How is this going to backfire? I mean, I think this is a precursor to what not just a Super Bowl. We may be having this issue with all football games. I mean, look at a team. Somebody if their team plays on Thursday Night Football. Oh, we pay for Amazon Prime too. If they don't have Amazon Prime, they don't get to watch their games, right?
What? I think it's this exact same argument we used to have with satellite. Like something's got to give. This is stupid. We're not even getting. I'd rather just pay for a certain amount of channels, and streaming came out. But
now you pay a significantly higher amount, $20 a month, to get one channel, to get one show, to get one. You know what I mean?
Altogether, I still think like for the. If we went to Dish Network and got the same content, it'd be $150 a month. We're saving $20-$30. We're paying a little over $100 with YouTube TV and every streaming app. I think something else will come out.
I think you need to redo your math because YouTube TV alone is almost $100.
We pay $69 a month for YouTube TV.
Man, what plan did you get? Because mine's like $89 plus taxes or something.
Just that plus. Yeah.
But you have ESPN, you have Disney, you have Hulu.
Well, you don't pick different packages on YouTube. You can add stuff.
No, I'm saying you have those apps as well. You have ESPN Plus.
That's $19.99 a month.
Disney, okay, so you're almost $100 right there. Just those two.
And then $6.99 a month for Peacock or Paramount, whichever one we're paying for. $6.99 a month. And then Netflix.
That's just close to $25.
Yeah, that's what we have.
And I guess you could figure in. I mean, you think it's free, but your max with AT&T, you're essentially paying for that as well through your phone bill.
But I'm paying my phone bill regardless. If I canceled it, it wouldn't make my phone bill cheaper.
No, I know, but
you are still paying. You're paying for every. We're paying for every. Channel we're not watching.
We're definitely. The math doesn't add up. I mean, I've run the numbers. The research shows people are paying a significant amount more. I mean, I'm guaranteeing you, I'm almost at $300 a month to get, and that's just to get comparable stuff now because everything's broken up. YouTube only has certain things, and ESPN only has certain, like, you only watch certain things. So I feel like I'm getting less even with all these streaming apps than I was getting with the satellite, like with a one bundle plan.
Yeah.
Because we left before, you're like, oh, I can pay $20 for this and I can pay $30 for that. And it's like, well, yeah, now that's just crept up. Every year it goes up.
See, what we would do with like Dish Network, we'd have a pretty high package because that's what you get started with. And then they always get you with the contract, whatever, but you just cancel the contract, say we're moving over, and just say we're not paying a contract fee, whatever. Don't let anybody tell you. Very few contracts today you can't get out of. Gym contracts you can get out of. They say, well, you're going to pay. Like, no, we're doing. Just tell them you're not going to pay it. And normally
I guess the point to all this is this can't be good for sports, for sports watchers.
Not for sports watchers, but for people at the top making the money.
Yeah. But we're talking for the common guy. We're not making that money.
No.
So why are we for that?
We're not for that.
So
I'm not saying I'm for that at all, but I'm saying the people making money, I think they're going to make more money. They have to be making more money or they wouldn't be considering.
Well, you say that, but Dish Network didn't. DirecTV didn't. They tried to go to the streaming app, the apps. Their shit's falling. Like
DirecTV and Dish Network have never been hugely profitable. The NFL is going to make tons of money.
The NFL will, yeah.
No,
the streaming apps is what they're going to drive.
That's who's making the decision to stream. The NFL is pulling all the purse strings. They're making money. Like, you don't make money from attendance now. You make money from the TV contracts. Who's paying more?
Advertising
Because of the TV contracts. TV contracts are saying, I can make this much money by streaming CBS, having NFL games on this. It just keeps going up because more people are watching and you can spend more money. It's just a revolving cycle. NFL wouldn't be considering even talking about this if it wasn't going to make them money, because there's business people that are smarter than us about making money. Now, they're going to say, yeah, we're going to lose ratings. I'm saying it's a good business decision. It's not a good decision on viewership.
I don't know if it is. I think if you get away, networks are hurting anyways. I think if you get away from sports on network television, I think that it could have hurt. I think eventually people are going to meet, now, yes, people are just going to do it and do it and do it. I think you're going to meet their max, and eventually people are going to just say, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to, I'm going to move away from sports. Or I'm going to move, it's going to change the landscape of the way sports are, and I think how viewership is.
I think what happens is the big guys will stay, and maybe some of the smaller streaming services will go away, where you won't have Discovery Plus and things like that. You're going to, because it's all the major networks have their, Fox has their streaming service, Peacock.
Well, but it's free.
Is NBC. Well, no, I'm saying they know that they have a streaming service and that's where it goes. And now they're competing not only to have it on their channel, not to have the Super Bowl on our channel every time, but now it's going to be on a streaming service where is Paramount CBS's?
I don't know.
I think CBS owns Paramount.
There's so many backdoor. There's probably only 4 actual companies, and they own.
And yeah, I think NBC directly, yeah, you can say it's Peacock, but I think that's what it is the Super Bowl is going to bid out who's going to have them. And maybe it's just like we did with satellite, is once our bill starts to go up, no, we're just going to cancel. We'll move. How many times we went from DirecTV to Dish, back to DirecTV, back to Dish before all this? That's what Cowboys are going to be on. Now, if the Cowboys every week are on a different streaming.
That's what I'm saying. And that's where it would go to.
You can't just cancel because you're paying for the month anyways. But if the Super Bowl is on Peacock this year, you get Peacock, You can get a free, even if I've had Peacock, I can get a free trial. Just use a different email address or whatever. But
how hard, I'm not going to do it. But you're making that very tough now for somebody to want to watch a game. I'm not going to go through all of that, even us needing to cover it. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to jump through the hoops for the NFL and for Peacock and for all of these billionaires just so I can tune into this game.
It's just
I think it's ridiculous that they're doing that.
Fights as I've seen and boxing, I've never paid. Well, I paid for one.
But also look at the popularity of those isn't what they were previously.
Well, what I'm saying
UFC has been
we can watch the Super Bowl for free if we want to watch
UFC the Super Bowl. Is popular, but it's not at the level of the NFL.
Yeah, well, but I can go, somebody I know is going to pay to watch the Super Bowl, and they're going to have a party because they're going to make it worth it. Hey, I'm going to pay, maybe $10 at start, but maybe $100 at some point. I'm going to have people over who are going to make it worth it,
So then how can the NFL justify they're going to make money if that actually happens?
That's what I'm saying.
If your ratings...
if you cut it in half,
I think that's $10, that could be very possible. I watch fights on TikTok. Guys get on there and they just live stream the fight on their phone so everybody can watch it.
You just need half of the people to pay for it. This isn't me coming up with this. This is what people, economists, whatever, say the NFL expects to lose half of their rating. You're probably still going to have 150 million people watch one way or the other. That's probably how they're going to justify, hey, people are having Super Bowl parties. People are watching at Buffalo Wild Wings. You still have, according to talking to advertisers, that many people are going to watch.
They're already on an app. So what is like putting it to one specific app? Because if you keep it on network TV, YouTube TV, Hulu Live, whatever other ones there are out there, the Fubos, you're paying for these channels anyways.
Yeah. So
you're getting that. So why people are going to pay for this to watch your regular season, but then you want them to go pay for another app, which Peacock, dude, that's like, to me, that has to be one of the more unpopular apps for the mass majority to have. Wouldn't you think? That's an odd one. That'd be like Paramount. Like, how many people actually have Paramount? You know what I mean? Like,
no, we get it. Watch a season of something and then cancel it.
Right.
We'll play for like a month.
I mean, I guess that's what they're banking on. I just think it's a really bad move and a really bad decision overall for sports. Yeah. And the viewership, I mean, that's something that people look forward to, is they get to watch all the playoff games leading up to the Super Bowl, I think
they have it, in their mind when you make a bold move, it's either going to fail or it's going to succeed. But from their point of view, I don't know that you say, hey, we're going to make a ton of money for a year. Like, go to streaming services, how ridiculous they're getting. And probably not all of them are making money because they're paying lots of money. Just like, look how ESPN's bleeding right now. Mm-hmm. Because they're paying so much money for the, somebody's making money at the top at some level. But would you say that streaming has been a success financially for them? Even if it goes to people people have a revolt. I think it is, because you say, hey, we're going to make a ton of money for 5, 10, how many ever years? And then they have to have that in their mind. They can't be blind to it, where people are going to revolt, people are going to whatever, and we're going to but then the next thing's going to come out.
I don't think all of these streaming services really are making that much.
No, somebody's making at some level, and they have to
I don't know. I mean, I think they're all really struggling. I think the landscape's so broad now that not everybody, I know a lot of people that have canceled Netflix now because the price has gotten so high. But listen to this. They're doing it, but you continue, like before they would hold into a price for a while.
Yeah.
Now they can hardly get to a year point, and they're going up on the price, because they're not making the profits they need to make.
Not the streaming services, the content on there.
But that's what I'm saying.
Production companies.
That's what I'm talking about.
NFL, whatever.
That's what I'm talking about, because Apple TV produces their own, Netflix produces their own. But that's where they're losing the money. So they're having to try to make it back in their.
We'll use the NFL as an example. How they're making a ton of money. That we're saying, just keep it the same. Why are you trying to do this and this and that? It's going to hurt. And they have to be looking at that. They have economists and business executives.
Well, I mean, we were just talking about Jerry Jones. You think, just because he's at the NFL, he's making great decisions. I mean, not everyone at these high levels make great decisions.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a reason Fox is struggling.
How long have you said Jerry Jones is going to keep doing this, and eventually he's going to hit his pocketbook, and he's going to have to actually do something? The Cowboys just have to be relevant. They don't have to win a Super Bowl. He's making money. Now, the NFL, up, decent, like if you can see on YouTube, up. You can keep it the same, or you can pay-per-view, whatever your decision is, go up and then level out. Go up, level. I think that's kind of their thinking, where they're making tons of money, but they're always looking for the next best thing. That's how business and maybe it's going to fail miserably.
I think the issue is
I think they're always trying to get that jump.
This was a late announcement. What game next week is on a different streaming service? I mean, what if one's on, you can only get it on Fubo or what, and you have to go out and spend $12 for this month just to watch a game.
So to answer your overall question, where is it going? I think that's what they're going to, I don't think they know. Maybe they know this week, hey, another one's going to be, I think they'll look at it, and whether we hate it or not, if it's a success to them, next year they're going to add another one, and next year.
I mean, who says they don't add one every week through the playoffs? Isn't this?
If it's a success to them,
well, I think they have to. I mean,
if it fails and to them, I know I was saying, ratings are scattered around and they don't combine them all. They know though. They know how many people stream the game. They know how many people watched on.
I mean, let's look at the botch that they did with that. Was it Fox that did the Toy Story thing, or it was ESPN, I guess.
ESPN
that they did with the Toy Story. That was completely botched. That was so I think they're trying too hard, which shows that there may be some struggle there. And maybe that was partly ESPN, but that's an NFL production. That's NFL game. There has to be some struggle, or why are they not? Why are they making changes?
Notice that they were thinking about doing that for the Super Bowl, and they're not. I know it's on Nickelodeon. They're gonna have a SpongeBob themed, but they were thinking about doing something similar for the Super Bowl.
I think that
they talked about that before the season started.
The NFL is still struggling. I mean, they struggled some. There was some viewership loss with all the Colin Kaepernick stuff, and when all that was going on and all the kneeling, and there was a dip, and they've been reeling from that since. I don't know that they fully recovered from that.
No.
You're saying, oh, they're going up, up, up. I don't know that that's exactly how they see it.
No,
I mean, yes, exactly. They're a billion-dollar company.
Exactly.
But how much does it cost to operate a billion-dollar company with thousands of employees? It costs a lot of money to put on an NFL game. I mean, you have tons of employees. Mm-hmm. You have it's expensive. So I don't know all the numbers. I haven't looked at it. I just, from the surface, seeing what they're trying to do, everything they're doing is a stretch. I think the NFL is still struggling for a billion-dollar company.
I think when you see new things going on it seems like an exponential level, TV things, trying new things, I think it's probably experiment more than anything. If it fails, if it doesn't meet their expectations, I think they back up and go back to the drawing board. They're willing to, and I sound like I'm defending it or saying it's the right thing. I'm just, being the devil's advocate. From their point of view, I agree. It's getting expensive, where every streaming service was $5.99, maybe $10. Netflix used to be $9.90, probably $7.99,
$6.99 at one time. Yeah,
it's going to go up because they're adding more content you want to see, and it's costing them more money.
But they're also taking off a lot of content.
And I joked around about some genius is going to combine them all and resell it to us as cable. You're already seeing it with the same companies as Disney, mm-hmm. ESPN, Hulu for $20 a month instead of paying what Hulu's probably $20 a month on its own.
Yeah, I don't
Disney
really know.
Plus I think is $12, and ESPN's pretty cheap, but there's not shit on there.
Yeah.
I mean, I watch lacrosse because I cover a lacrosse team on there.
Well, it's nice to have for the other games that you can't.
But that's why you do the bundle. Like, I can't justify paying for ESPN. But if I'm going to watch Disney Plus and Hulu, it makes sense just to bundle it anyways, because it's cheaper than having each individual or each Hulu and Disney Plus. But no, I agree. I think there is going to be a point where whether they combine them but it's just like I said with the pay-per-view. If they came out this year and said Super Bowl is $5 pay-per-view, a ton of people are going to be like, it's $5. It's a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but I think you're going to have a big revolt too. I think you think too. You and I, yes. People that don't care about the Super Bowl that would tune in for the commercials are going to say, "Nah, I'm not paying to go watch commercials." The commercials. You know what I'm saying? I think you're going to have a lot less people that would be willing to pay even just as little as $5, because people are understanding now. There's already a big revolt of, we're paying. There's this big group that's pushing for, look at all the money you're spending in streaming services. Like, people are starting to realize now, man, you got us. We said we wanted to pay for what we wanted, and now we're doing that, but you're overcharging us.
But $5, you're not going to have the ratings, but you'll have the same viewership, because you'll have people that say, I can go next door. You're going to go to a party anyways, most people. They have the opportunity to go see it for free, but they're not going to. Just same with Colin Kaepernick.
So then how do they make money if they don't have the streaming? If that's the only way you're...
If they said $5 tomorrow, it's on, Super Bowl's on Peacock, I still think 300 million people, or how many ever million people, are going to see it.
You think that, NFL might think that, but you don't know. You have no way to track that.
You don't, but there will be enough people. There will be enough business. I mean,
but everything comes down to $1.
Yeah.
So if you're supposed to say $100 million on the Super Bowl, you would make. Well, what if you only sold $30 million in the $5 pay-per-views?
That's $30 million extra, because you're not making advertising cheaper, I don't think.
I think it is. I think there's a justification that corporations can fight them to say this is...
They could, but if you go buy advertising,
especially if they look at it and say, I wouldn't. I mean, in a situation, if I know I'm going to possibly lose eyes on this because I think you are. I think there's an opportunity you lose casual people that would come in that don't that aren't going to parties. I mean, you're thinking that everybody's going to a party. 50 people in your neighborhood might watch the Super Bowl. But you know what I mean?
But if you go to buy advertising anyways, you have two numbers. You have, this is how many people, these are the ratings, but these are how many estimated viewers. And that's
but I think both of those are down.
I agree. But you already have your everyday, like whatever's on ESPN or whatever right now, they are paying for advertising and they're getting an estimated number, and that's what they're paying off of. And they're justifying this by saying, this is the science. They're just throwing numbers out there. 30 million people saw your ad because our ratings show that there were 20 million people viewed in. That were the ratings. And for Sports Center at 8 a.m., we can't make that jump. But for a UFC fight, yeah, only this many people paid for it. But how many parties? How many people go? You go to Buffalo Wild Wings for the Super Bowl, a Cowboys game, a UFC fight. There's not a seat available.
But the thing about it is when you do pay-per-views like that, your ad space is less. They're not going. They're not leaving to go to an ad because you're paying for that. That's the reason it's a pay-per-view.
Yeah,
is because you're not getting all the advertising sales. You're not watching commercials. They're staying live at it the whole time.
Yeah.
So to charge somebody pay-per-view, but then you're not going to give them all the live content. You know what I mean? Like, I'm paying extra so I can sit and watch ads, which in a Super Bowl situation, maybe some people want to do. Let's take the Super Bowl out of it. A week 1 game, you're going to pay $5 to watch it. Then week 2, you're going to pay another $5 to watch it. Then week 3, you're going to pay another $5 to watch it. So over 18 weeks, you're going to pay $5 every week to watch the game you want to watch.
Depending on what.
Because that's where this is where this is heading. I mean, this is essentially where it's going.
It's straight up pay-per-view.
Because look at this. Peacock might be testing this now with the NFL. If they add more content, your price is going up.
Yeah.
It's not just the $6 or $8, $10 you're paying.
Yeah.
It's going to be a $30 because now you're getting live TV. So now you're going to pay $30 a month for Peacock. Just like with Hulu, if you want live, you're paying extra. If you want, you know what I mean? So that's where we have to look at this in the ahead is this going to hurt sports? Because one network, one streaming app is not going to get all of the content. You're going to have multiple. But now if they're providing more content and they're providing it live, well, you got to pay for that now.
You got to think, too, that how exclusive is it going to be? Because Thursday Night Football is exclusive on Prime for out-of-market games. Like the Cowboys play on, you don't have to watch it on Prime. You can watch it on, I don't know what channel. It's one of the local channels, CBS, whatever. Thursday Night Football, maybe it's NFL. I have no idea. And then there's another argument, NFL Network. I don't know. I know it's on YouTube TV, but I don't know what level of packaging is on DirecTV or Sling or anything like that. So at what point does it truly become exclusive?
Well,
because there hadn't been a Cowboy game.
Assuming you're local to your team.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the same argument of I've never paid for NBA Pass or those because they black out local game and
But then can you watch Maverick games?
I play
on the regular.
Yeah, if you pay for Bally's. Right now. But it would be slightly cheaper to do with NBA League Pass, but I can't watch Mavericks games on there because it's truly for out-of-market fans.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how it is other places. I know there's never been a Cowboy
game. So is that
game.
The case?
There's never been a Cowboy game exclusively on an app.
But is that the case for this playoff game?
I don't know. I have no idea. I would assume, but playoff games are different. Just like when the Mavericks and Rangers and Stars, which is different when you have multiple games, you don't have national. Cowboys don't have their home. They have radio, but they don't have a home TV like all these other teams do. But when the playoffs start, you don't have those home broadcasts. They're all national broadcasts. Mm-hmm. As opposed to if the Rangers play on ESPN, there's going to be 2 broadcasts. So I know that so for that reason, there might not be a broadcast. I don't know if that's the same for the playoffs because there's not a TV broadcast for the Cowboys that I've been able to say, does it still happen for the playoffs? So we'll find out if the Cowboys are on a streaming app. So the Cowboys have never not been on. I mean, the Cowboys played on Thursday Night Football when it was on NFL Network, or they moved Monday Night Football to ESPN. They always have Monday Night Football. ESPN's always on ABC for your local team, and most of the time it's on ABC anyways. Mm-hmm. They'll have double, and I think that's what you're saying. It wasn't always like that. They realize, hey, put it on local and ESPN. You're double dipping. You're getting extra viewers who don't have that. So maybe you get to that. Not maybe before there's a revolt, they see that, hey, we can keep, and like, okay, hold on. Well, now we got to bring it back. Give them something for it. Hey, we're going to do something for you. Obviously sounding sarcastic. I'm not saying, hey, we're great guys. They're going to say, oh, now that you're paying $30 a month for Peacock, you can watch it on NBC too if you don't have Peacock. See how great we are? I think that's something it turns into, because now you can watch 4 different versions of Monday Night Football on Peyton, Eli, ESPN's version, ABC, which is the same broadcast but different channels.
Yeah.
Same with Prime. You can watch different versions, stream versions, and unfortunately, I think that's where they're defaulted on right now, is thinking, hey, it's worth it. We're giving you 4 different. Whereas I don't care about that. I can only watch one at a time. I don't give a damn about, I love Dude Perfect. I don't care about their version of Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch.
Which is why I feel like,
version.
It's trended this way for a couple years with Thursday Night Football and some of the things that NFL's tried. I think it's kind of a cry for help. Yeah. I read that as a true cry for help, that
in our
things aren't as good.
Minds, you're going to try random things all the time. You can never stay put.
But for a reason. I mean, there's always a reason behind it. Is, hey, this is looking. We need to make a change here. We need, like, you don't always just change.
If you're doing great, you'd be like, well, we have to keep looking forward too, because
at this rate, though,
yeah,
we're seeing it at an exponential rate with the NFL and everything they're trying. Even for sometimes like the Toy Story thing. Just for 1 week, they'll try it.
Working on getting kids. And all their breast cancer awareness stuff. You've seen that go way down.
I mean, we talked about the jerseys, in previous weeks, about jersey sales. The NFL's way down on those jersey sales worldwide.
10 years ago, what they did with breast cancer awareness is, they donate a lot of money, but they were doing that for female viewership. Now, whether it increased it or not, they don't do that to an extent. And they still have breast cancer awareness stuff. But do they even wear pink in October anymore?
No, because it's like the all awareness.
Yeah, now it's all awareness. They're trying to go, after getting kids' viewership, which, I think is smart. I think they're going a little overboard with it. I was fine with them doing the Nickelodeon broadcast, which they're going to do with the Super Bowl, where you have different broadcasters, you have different things going on to make the kid, keep the kids interested, and they dumb down football to an extent. You could just go watch that to learn a little bit about football if the kids don't know about football. But that's not, they're not saying, hey, Super Bowl's on Nickelodeon this year. That's it. And we'll see. I don't know, but they're trying all these things to add viewership, and they should always. I think it's a crazy market. I think, just like, to compare it to the dating world where there's all the different apps, I would be terrified to try to date in today's, where it's not like, you're talking to somebody on an app, but how many are they talking to? How many apps are they on? It's the same thing with Peacock and Paramount. They're paying for their app. How do we get them over to our app to pay? And it's the free market. And that's unfortunately what happens when you're like, we're adding content because now we're going to pull them over. We have the NFL.
Speaking of free.
Oh shit, it takes a ton of money.
Speaking of free, we're giving everybody a lot of extra free content. So let's keep on with we got on a little tangent about that, which we're going to continue to talk about. We'll get some more data, but let's keep on with the playoff picture we've got here. We just talked Kansas City, Miami. I think Kansas City wins this in Kansas City.
Cold weather.
You're looking,
it's not going to be the game you expect, that these teams are high-flying offenses. I think it's going to slow down. But
cold weather games always seem to slow down fast, high-paced offenses.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going to hurt Miami in this one.
Kansas City doing stand, but not near as much.
I think Miami very close to being a more talented team. especially if they have their speed. They're a much faster team.
Yeah.
But I think Kansas City with these weather conditions, I like Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs there. To wrap up the AFC side, Buffalo and Pittsburgh.
Both cold weather teams, but same deal. It's a surprise that Pittsburgh made it.
Yeah.
I think Buffalo's too talented a team.
I don't see a situation.
It's going to be, but who knows? It's going to be one of those games. There's supposed to be a ton of snow.
I think it will be a closer game than you realize, but I think at the end, I think
cold weather games benefit teams with running quarterbacks.
Yeah,
because if your quarterback can't run and can only pass, and you don't have a strong running back, which Buffalo has that too. Dallas fans have seen that. That the cold weather kind of takes them out of the game. It's hard to throw the ball, move the ball through the air in cold weather games, and Josh Allen may be one of the best running quarterbacks.
Yeah.
In this situation. Yeah,
moving over to the NFC side, we talked about them a little bit earlier, but Tampa, Philly at Tampa.
I
think this is actually this is more of like a 50-50 matchup here to me.
I think it's a
popular
I could see
it go either way.
Jump on the Eagles and say, hey, they're done. It's never a good thing to back into the playoffs.
I think they're too talented not to, though.
I think the Eagles
in Tampa, good weather. I think the Eagles.
I think it's a close game, and then maybe the Eagles pull away.
I think the Eagles edge this one out too. Detroit and
I wanted to talk about that Matt Stafford's return. Man, as much as Detroit loves Matt Stafford, as much as they wanted to jump on the Super Bowl bandwagon and say, "Hey, we feel like we won the Super Bowl," the legend that he is in Detroit, I think he comes to Detroit for the first time, where Detroit has a home game for the first time, a home playoff game in 30 years, and they're going to be upset by the Rams, by Matthew Stafford.
I see it the other way. I don't think the Rams are talented enough. I don't think Matt Stafford's playing at a high level like Jared Goff. Jared Goff's playing better than I've ever seen him play. Even back, I saw him in person in college play some. I don't think he's playing any better ball. Like, he's playing better ball now than he ever has. I mean, we saw them. This Detroit team actually, they almost scare me a little more than the Niners. At least the Niners, you kind of know what you're getting. With the Lions, you just don't know what you're getting, and their coach is Dan Campbell's so gutsy.
Yeah.
He's got such big balls. I mean, you've seen him from week one going for, fake punts, going for it on fourth down. Like, he is not scared, and that's voted well for them. They're pretty much going to pull everything out. I think this is a super dangerous team. I think they get the home win for Detroit, and I think they're moving on, and we'll move on to. I mean, have you got anything else on the Detroit and the Matt Stafford that?
No, I just think it's a scary game for the Lions in the sense that in the second round, moving forward, the second round, if the Cowboys win, do you want to face Philadelphia or Detroit? Like,
I would almost rather face Philadelphia as the Cowboys
than
I would Detroit.
But I'm more scared of it. Would hurt so much worse to lose to Philadelphia than Detroit, and that's why I think Detroit.
It's hard to win in the NFL.
Not Detroit the team, but the fans are terrified.
Yeah,
because they don't want to lose to Matthew Stafford.
It's hard to win in the NFL, and it's even harder to beat a team twice in the NFL. Yeah. Unfortunately, the Cowboys have beaten all of these teams once. Of course, they've lost to Philadelphia once too. So
Philadelphia would have to be. But yeah. Anyways, that's what I had on that.
I'm worried about Detroit for Dallas. But speaking of Dallas, move on to Dallas, Green Bay.
Detroit's not worried about Dallas. We had that win.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I think I'm worried about it. Is that Dan Campbell outcoached Mike McCarthy in that game? There was just a few key plays at the right times that happened, and if you want to argue the refs or whatever, I'm not going to get into that.
There are multiple times where I said the Cowboys should have won, Detroit should have won.
Yeah, neither of them played great games. Of course, it was what you expect from two top tier teams. I mean, both these teams are fighting for the 2 and 3 spot in the NFC.
But you see clear cut. Cowboys could have won that. Not the tripping penalty. Not that. I'm saying they threw the ball.
They could have run the clock.
They could. I mean, I understand Tony Pollard struggled in that game. You have issues running, but they're throwing it downfield. There are design plays where this has got to be a completion. Just if we don't get a first down, we didn't get a first down, but we cannot stop the clock.
Yeah.
And I know high percentage plays, but you throw downfield, I think it was
what you have
catches that ball, or no, it's Cooks catches that ball. Mike McCarthy looks like a genius.
And remind me, that is the game, right? Because I'm getting some of these Cowboys where CD fumbled into the back end. Is that the Lions game when he gets it, he reaches out, he gets knocked out, and goes out of the back of the end zone for a touchback?
No, is it?
I think it.
I thought that was the Miami game.
No, I think it was a home game.
Okay,
maybe it was Miami.
Either
Regardless,
way, but
the Cowboys had a lot of opportunities to win that game. So
and the same with Detroit.
I'm scared of them more.
It's easy to look back
but to the Dallas Green Bay game this week, because you got to get this through this week first. The Cowboys haven't beaten Green Bay in 10, or they have one win in 10 years
in the playoffs.
Against Green Bay.
They won back to back in the 90s.
So
no, they haven't won since 90. It's the last time the Cowboys won the Super Bowl. That's the last time they beat Green Bay in the playoffs. But they've only played them in 2014 to 2016. Dez caught it, and then
I think then going back to like the last 10 matchups, regular season or not, the Cowboys have only won one of those 10 matchups.
Yeah, the last, I want to say it was Dak's rookie years last time they beat them in Green Bay.
So obviously you have to keep that. I mean, those teams they lost to would have been Brett Favre. Well, it would have been all Aaron Rodgers, I guess, at that point. Brett Favre was already
two times.
Regardless,
in the playoffs, Aaron Rodgers.
They're a completely different quarterback. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is
different
tough
quarterback,
to beat.
Different team, and even the Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb's never. He faced the Packers last year, but if we're talking like playoffs, CeeDee Lamb wasn't on that team.
I expect the Cowboys to run away with this one. I really do.
I've gotten more confident than throughout the week.
I don't think Green Bay's that talented of a team. I mean, they just squeaked in. Like, they didn't play great football this season, all season long. They were one of the lower seeds in their division for a long time. Pretty much, I mean, I think that with the injuries that Minnesota had is kind of what put Green Bay in the position they're in now. You know, that helped them catapult into the spot they're in. I think if Minnesota stays healthy, I don't think that they're in this position.
I think it's the name that people are getting more. Not that Green Bay's not good. I mean, if you're playing in the playoffs, they're there for a reason. But if you take the exact same situation and say it's the Bucs, I don't think most people are as worried. It's Green Bay, Dallas.
Well, you can write storylines.
PTSD.
Yeah, you can write storylines.
It's the damn Packers, and fans may get that way. I don't know that. I mean, to an extent, players and coaches might get that way. But these are completely different teams. I know Dak faced the Packers his rookie year in the playoffs. Mike McCarthy coached for the Packers. But I think they're different teams. And Green Bay is capable of coming out and winning this game, especially running the ball. But it's at home. We've seen the Cowboys win 16 straight home games around that. I think it's similar to last week where you're like, crap, what are you doing? You're letting him stay in it, and then I think they run away with it. I think it's something like that, 34-21, something like that. Cowboys are going to score a lot. I don't think there's a lot of question later in the game.
No, I don't think so.
They should.
I think this defense has at least 2 turnovers in this game.
And throw it to Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy does it. He's not going to say it, but he doesn't want to lose to his team. It makes it more special for him. And as we mentioned earlier, it's got to be in his head. If I lose this game, I lose my job. It's got to be at least
a first round exit by the Cowboys being the 2 seed. Absolutely, there's no doubt in my mind that's what should happen.
Whether it's right or wrong, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But guys, thanks. This is a longer episode than normal. Thanks for sticking.
A lot of
with
free
us.
content. We're not going to charge you.
There's yeah. I mean, maybe next year we'll start the Peak One app. You pay $5.99 for. We'll start it off cheap. Don't worry. But guys, thanks for listening. A big weekend. Did we get you ready for your sports weekend? A lot of stuff happening this weekend. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, follow us, whatever you're listening to on podcasts. But until next time, guys, we'll see you later. Bye.